Actually, we always knew for the year and a half that we were going back and forth that Kristopher was going to receive a sentence, but I was never told, what kind of sentence we were looking at. When they first called and he turned himself in, they said he was looking at a life sentence, and I thought, what in the heck could he have done for a life sentence? But a mandatory minimum is if you have two priors, no matter if they're prostitution or theft, if they're felonies, a third one means automatic life. So that's one thing that in this United States we need to know. Not that he was slinging so many drugs or that he had killed anybody. It's the fact that he had two prior felonies and that a third conviction means automatic life. The government did depart, but we didn't know what the time was going to be. When the judge gives off the time, they give it to you in months, and so you have to sit there and like figure it out really quickly. But all through like the pre-sentencing, my stomach was just like in an uproar. I went to the bathroom like 13 times. I was sick. And when the sentence finally came down, I never know which one was worse, the breast cancer or hearing I had breast cancer or hearing that my son would be going away for 19 and a half years. And actually I got the news of all of them came within a 3-day span. After my son actually self-reported, I got diagnosed with breast cancer 3 days later. So I had a double whammy. So the feeling was a numbing feeling, as well. It was like I couldn't believe it, like this couldn't be true.
Well, I want to know this. When they write you or when they reach out to you, what do they say?
I mean, there's like everything can be said. I mean, these are like just little small synopsis, that people says I'm 30 years old, but I was 26 when I was sentenced. Due to my 10-year sentence, 2 of my children were adopted out to another family. I currently have a 4-year-old staying with a friend. By the time I get out, I will be 34 years old and my son will be 8. My name is blah, blah, blah. I was 26 years old. I'm currently serving a 10-year mandatory minimum sentence for crack cocaine. I believe that my sentence, along with countless of others, is extremely harsh and unfair. It's been really hard for me to comprehend a person like me with no priors receiving such a harsh sentence and an unjust sentence. 4 years I've been gone out of my life. My son's now 10 years old. I mean, these are like, everyday people, like you and I.
What do you say to a mom who's incarcerated and she loses her children?
I mean, there aren't words. There are no earthly words that you can say to a mom who has lost her child, to her being incarcerated or her child being incarcerated. But what I can say is that you have to find a blessing in all of it. I mean, because I have a girlfriend who lost her daughter to death. And so her daughter is gone. She can't speak to her and she can't talk to her. I was blessed through my son being incarcerated because I can still talk to Kristopher. I can touch Kristopher, and Kristopher will come home and he'll have a chance at living a life. So you have to find a blessing through adversity, or you be sitting in a corner pulling your hair out because life is going to have, peaks and valleys. And the great thing about being in a valley, to have a valley, that means there's a mountain on the other side. And so you're surely going to come out of it.
Well, amen. Okay. You ever thought about going into the ministry?
No, I haven't been to church in all this year. My pastor's looking for me in the daytime with a flashlight.
Well, thank you. This is really outstanding. Wow. All those letters from people you've never even met?
And I really can't look at them because it's really upsetting to me.
And what do you say, because the Occupy Chicago movement is in town, it'll be here all week. They say that there are people who have stolen on Wall Street hundreds of millions of dollars and they've not been prosecuted because what they've done is not deemed illegal.
All I can say is shame on them, but there are so many fights that we can fight, but in the African American community and Latino community, we know what's being done to our fathers and our mothers. And the last mandatory minimum meeting I had, there were less than 100 people there. That's ridiculous. That place should have been filled with people that are concerned citizens. And when things like that happen, then I'm I need to go fight fight for Kristopher. If you guys, your children are incarcerated, your husbands, your wives, and you don't want to come fight this fight with me, I can't fight it by myself. But I know how to go fight my son's fight by myself. And I think it's just people need to come together. It's in the African American community, whatever they did to us a couple hundred years ago by separating us, it's still working today in 2011.
Okay, now
I really appreciate it.
I really just want to say, what do you want to say about your mom, who's just been with you and fighting for you every single day? What do you want to say to her?
Oh, for me, I say it to her every day. I love her, and I mean, I don't know the different languages to tell her I love her, but I will learn them just so I can tell her in different ways that I love her. She's my best friend. She's everything. She's my mom, my best friend, my worst enemy, my biggest supporter. We everything. We like brother and sisters. You name it, it's me and my mom. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So I mean, I'm just thankful to have her ride with me. She's like my number one girl.
okay. Last thing, Christopher, what do you think needs to happen to mandatory minimum? Should the government do away with those? Why or why not?
Well, I think they should do away with them. Me personally, because they should sentence people according to the individual and to the characteristics of that individual. Because I mean, certain people do things that might be deserving of a sentence that is excessive or a mandatory minimum right now, but everyone doesn't deserve them, and just sentence people on an individual basis. You know?
Oh, I do. Thank you so much, Christopher, and just keep your head up. We're looking forward to you coming home.
Okay, well I'll be home soon. I'm looking forward to doing another interview with you in person.
Sounds good.